Hi, I'm Alex Maxwell, and don't have sex with your sister.
Hodor.
Yes, hello Bambinos. It is episode 11. Yeah, I know. Sorry to make you so sad, but got to sneak in a little tribute.
Yeah.
Little tribute to my guy. Yeah, episode 11 again. So, we're doing Game of Thrones this week.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Yeah, I should clarify. I said again there because I was repeating myself. We haven't already done an episode 11.
Episode 11.
It's not like
part 2.
A secret bonus DVD episode 11 that we haven't released.
Secret, or
No.
like we didn't do this once already for an hour and then had to start again.
I mean, we haven't done that thus far, but
We've almost done
that
it a
is
few
such a
times.
surprise to me.
Considered it.
Yeah, we very nearly did it last week, but again, no fault of my own. All Alex's fault,
One day.
and a bit Nathan's because his camera
Bit of my
crashed again.
fault. Is that going to happen
So-
again today?
I hope not. We'll find out.
I almost hope so. It's become like a ritual now. It's like part of the fun of it.
Did we have a welcome to the show last week?
We did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like 40 minutes in.
it was
did it.
mine, but it sucked.
Yeah, because you did
Okay.
it, so of course it
So-
sucked.
Yeah.
Now we've got running gags. I made it! We've got the running gag of welcome to the show, and Nathan's camera crashing is a new one. No,
Yeah.
computer crashing.
The
That
two
happened twice.
one of them's a good running gag, the other one's like a massive inconvenience, but it's a cool running gag at least.
Yeah.
I mean, not
So-
for me.
Let's get on topic. Oh yeah, you
Yes.
you don't even get to enjoy it.
Oh yeah,
Right.
he's just oh no, my computer.
So, as
of
discussed last week at the end of the episode and the week before it when we were talking about Star Wars and briefly went on a bit of a tangent, and then we have a lot of I have a notes page full of things we can talk about for episodes on the podcast, and some reason Game of Thrones it just passed all of us by. And it came up naturally in conversation during the Star Wars thing, and we all sort of went, "Oh, we have to talk about it."
And true
So
to form,
here we are.
true to form, Max is here prepared with pages of notes. I'm not. I think it's good for the dynamic. I think
Oh, get lost. You just
Max does a lot of work. Max does a lot of prep work. Nathan's does some prep work,
I've done
and
nothing
I do
today.
none at all.
Yeah.
Although Nathan this week has done none at all? Question mark.
Yeah. I was
I
busy
thought
on
about it.
Blender.
You
I
thought about it.
I
Yeah,
thought about
I mean,
the show.
That's
It's like,
that's all that matters, right?
I think it adds to the dynamic. Adds a bit of
So,
light and shade.
when was the last time you watched Game of Thrones? Then, out of interest.
Oh,
Like the full
last
thing, or
season?
just an
Or
episode?
just at least an episode of it.
I think
It would've
last
been-
year during lockdown we
Mhm.
tried to watch from season 1 again. I think we got like halfway through season 2,
Yeah.
and then you're like,
I-
you know what? I know what's coming at the end of this. I don't want to continue.
oh yeah. We should say now. This whole episode is a big old spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it all and you want to, and you care, there will be spoilers. We will be talking openly and freely
Yeah.
about what is in every season, whether you like it or not. So if
It's
you
good
don't,
that you got it
turn
out of the
off.
way though, because every episode thus far, we've had like Alex will go, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't talk about that because spoilers," and I'll just like plow on and go, "No, I want
Yeah.
to talk about it." So fuck it.
if they're
So-
here, they know.
Now we're professional. We're sticking with
we
it.
got it. We're prepared. We're
So
covered.
yeah, last lockdown, that was when I watched it. I watched it all the way through. Not last lockdown because that's technically finishing tomorrow.
The first one.
But the first one, that I watched it all the way through. Now I enjoy Game of Thrones so much that I don't mind knowing that it gets sort of ruined at the end. You know, I can still have a good time watching it no matter what. And there are moments in that last season that I properly love. You know.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
In fairness, I've not watched it again since the finale.
Hmm.
Like, I might. Oh no, that's a lie. I have. Hannah.
Clearly memorable.
Hannah had watched up to like season 3, and I was like, you gotta watch the rest. And she was like, yeah, I do want to. I don't know why I stopped. Like, it's just one of those things that happens.
Yeah.
And so we started from season 3. I think we watched like 3 episodes and then stopped again.
Mad.
So, but it's finished watching it, so it was hard to go back. It was quite soon after the finale that we did that. So I was like, I don't want to watch it again.
It's one straight away. It's 10 episodes a season, and they're an hour long each. So that's 10 hours per season. You've got, I know was it the last 2 they did less for, or just the last one?
They cut down gradually, so I think it was like, I could be wrong here, but I think it was like, say, 8 or 7 episodes.
But they were slightly longer
season
as well.
7.
I mean, either way, you're getting up to nearly 100 hours.
And then season 8 was when they were slightly longer episodes.
They were like movies.
Well, they were pitched as feature length, but they were all like very short feature length. Like
it was like an hour and 20
hour and a
or
half.
something.
By Academy standards, 40 minutes is feature length. So
yeah, but that's bollocks.
They're playing semantics over there, aren't they?
Yeah,
that means every TV show over like half an hour is a feature then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made a feature film.
They only had 6 episodes in the last season, so that's something. But it's still at the same amount of time because the episodes make up.
They were longer. Yeah.
Well, I suppose before we get onto that, because I feel like if we talk about those last seasons, it'll suddenly like set us off onto a point that I want to get to eventually. Because that's when you talk about Game of Thrones now, it's like the one thing you have to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go to the beginning. When did you first start watching Game of Thrones? Like, what season? When did you first hear about it?
I saw it on Reddit. I saw the Red Wedding as a GIF on Reddit. It was like the highest voted thing on that day. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And I was looking through all the comments like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this. These are main characters. I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I was like, I'm going to go and watch this now. Yeah. But getting to that point, it suddenly dawned on me when I watched that episode. I was like, oh no, I remember what this was.
That's still quite cool though. So you had the spoiler, but it was still like,
I forgot
a
about
big moment
it
for you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very similar because I was late to the Game of Thrones game, and I think they were like, I think they were maybe, I think the Purple Wedding had already come out before I started it. I tried 3 times to watch Game of Thrones. I watched the first episode. I thought, this kind of sucks, and I gave up. And about a year later, again, I had like all my friends like, watch it. Oh, come on, you've got to watch it. You love this kind of shit. And I'm like, fine, I'll try it again. Did the same thing. Watched episode 1. Gave up. Probably shouldn't have just keep. I've watched episode 1 3 times. Someone said, stop just watching episode 1. At least watch episode 1 and then episode 2, because enough time had passed, I'd forgotten what had happened. So I did have to start again. But they were like, push through it. I was like, that's irritating, because shows you shouldn't have to. It should be good enough in episode 1 for me to want to
and
watch.
It is, for the record. It is a good episode.
I really like it.
But I understand why it's hard to watch.
Yeah. But then I watched episode 2, and immediately I was like, now I want episode 3. Yeah. And so I just binge watched, and I was watching it for ages. Like at a time, given the length of the episodes as well.
I'm quite jealous of that, because I have my sort of hipster claim to fame is that I was dead early on Game of Thrones purely by chance. So like my brother was off school one day, and as we've talked about before, we were still are a big Lord of the Rings family. On my dad's side, and I was in school. And my brother watched Game of Thrones with my dad while he was off sick. And then I came home and they were like, so we watched this episode of this thing, and it's like Game of Thrones. And my brother was like, but naked women are in it. and we were children. So, and then we watched the whole season, and then waited like a month, and then season 2 came out. So I was like, literally, from the start of season 2 onwards, I've watched Game of Thrones weekly. which has been.
Wow.
It sounds cool, like to be like, oh, it's so early to like such a popular
Yeah.
thing,
You have
but
to
it's
wait
been
for so
absolute torture just waiting for this finale. So when it finally came, it made it hurt a little bit more. But because I'd been watching it for so long, I was so invested in it already that I didn't really mind at the same time.
It's one of those weird things. Like, it's something that I know came up when we were at uni. You know, studying media, and we were looking at how we consume it now, and the kind of binge watching culture.
Yeah,
and it's like anything. It's like phones. It's like watches, right? So someone saw a clock and thought, you know what, I'm gonna put that on my wrist, and then someone else said, no. They said, I'm gonna put one of those in my pocket, right? Or pocket watch, and then someone said, no, I want to put that on my wrist. That's so much easier. And then we all got phones, and we're like, why do I need a watch? I can just pull my phone out of my pocket. And then someone said, you know what? I want to put that on my wrist. And it's like this cyclical thing. So we've gone from episodic watching, having to wait a week. And we've got like Netflix where you can just watch it straight away. But I mean, box sets were always a thing. So binge watching's always been a thing. But now you have streaming services releasing things weekly. They've gone back to the...
And I hate it.
The distribution. Me too.
They've fooled me. They've got me big time, this fucking industry. Because like Snowpiercer have been dropping their episodes weekly, and I don't even like it that much. But I'm watching it, you know.
Yeah.
I started watching it. I think I watched 2 episodes of that, and then I've like stopped now when I saw it was a weekly thing. Because I'm like, I could just watch it all in one go then.
It is all out now.
Oh, is it? Okay,
and that was season 2 anyway, so both seasons are now up.
It's not that, it's not that I don't like popular things. I hate, what irritates me is hype. Yeah. And because, like, it puts me off something, because everyone hypes it up. It's like, oh, this is amazing. And then I'm like, yeah, but now if I watch it and it's not phenomenal, I'm going to be really disappointed. So I tend to be quite late to things, not intentionally. But by the same token, if it's good, I tend to have a few seasons that I can just fucking cane through.
Yeah.
And by the time I do, the next one's out, and that's good.
Yeah,
I think the only season I had to watch, like weekly, was the last season.
Right. Wow.
That was the first time I had to do it.
I'll tell you what though, watching it weekly, and this is going to make like any boomers watching this, which would be very few, but any that are going to be like, yeah, that's how TV works. Like, why are you praising it? But
not
like,
anymore,
I do
people.
miss like that feeling of like when the Red Wedding happened, and you're like,
and you can't know for a whole week,
and you have to wait a whole week to find out.
But that was kind of the fun of it, because I remember, I think it was when in the summer they used to come out, and we would all be off from uni. And I'd watch like the episode of the night before, in that like the morning after it had come out, and I'd be there like texting my friends like, "Holy shit, have you seen this yet? Have you seen it?" Like that kind of excitement of like talking about the episode after it's come out, and then building up to like the next one. Yeah, like it was really good fun just to talk to everyone about it, and I haven't really had that experience with any other show.
No. When you think of the TV shows that have been like event TV shows,
I've had it with RuPaul's Drag Race, in fairness.
Well, that's kind of cool, at least. But like event TV shows, the last one that comes to mind, and it pains me to even talk about it on the same level as Game of Thrones, but Tiger King was huge. It was a huge thing, even though it was shit. Like, but it was
I think
massive.
it was a good documentary based on a shitty thing. It's like, what the fuck
I
is
don't
this
even think
about?
it was that good.
It was an entertain. It was more of like
it was very much a Netflix
thing,
documentary.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's obviously a divisive show. But the thing is, it was like, it wasn't, oh my god, did you watch last week's episode of Tiger King? It'd be, have you watched Tiger King yet? Have you watched the entire thing yet? Which is mad in a weird way that that's the world we live in now.
Well, I mean, I first experienced it with Game of Thrones anyway, with that last season, and it was event television. It was because, one, it was coming out weekly, and it's kind of my first experience of that with that show, and then because it was so huge, it was already huge, and So it was a case that this is the last, like, 6 episodes ever
of the biggest show ever.
Of the biggest show ever. And it's like, you have to watch it. You have to be on the ball. Like, I would... Because for that season, they had it showing, like, at the same time in the UK, didn't they?
I think it aired,
but you had to, like, stay up late.
Yeah.
Because I remember...
I did.
I know, because I remember at the end of every episode, me and Alex both being awake and messaging each other like, holy shit! Or like,
the memes.
That was shit!
Yeah. The ending. Anyway.
Yeah, like...
Back to the beginning.
I mean, it really added to how much I fondly remember that last time.
Oh, no.
This time.
Oh my god, he's completely frozen.
Because...
Oh, no! Wait. Oh, please God, yes.
Is there a message?
There isn't
Maybe
yet.
It's his
They
internet.
both crashed? Have I crashed? What's happening? Camera's back.
And
everybody.
Here he is. It's finally happened, everybody.
Yeah.
Week 11, Game of Thrones.
To be fair, it's just my shit internet, apparently. So,
That's
like,
okay.
It's not user error or just leaving, which Alex has done. So.
It's true.
I have. It's true.
So what was I saying? I know I was talking.
We were
because I
just
carried
very-
on talking.
Nobody knows.
I think we were gonna... You can just go into whatever you were saying, because I think Alex had just finished his point. It looked like you were about to say something.
Right,
Yeah,
well, I
it
had
stopped
said...
here.
I had said that I had texted you the night that it happened.
Oh, the
night
memes
that-
were
as they were going.
amazing.
Yeah, so we were like
was part
watching
of
them at like 1 a.m. as the episodes came out. And that's like why I think I remember that last season fondly, because it was sort of a shared experience. Also, like a bunch of like weird, like mixed cool things like happening. Like when the first episode of the last season premiered, I was staying awake the whole night because I was flying to Budapest at like 4 a.m. So I watched the last episode and then went to the airport and we went to Budapest. So I was literally like just talking the whole time, just about Game of Thrones with Victoria. She just did not care. She was just like, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Going
Did
to
not
Budapest.
ask. Actually, really, really tired and wish she would shut up talking about Game of Thrones.
The best bit of the holiday. The
It
traveling.
was. But yeah, so again, I associate it with like before I went on holiday and being like really like crazy excited because you're going on holiday and also your favorite TV show's starting again. You're watching it at 1 a.m. And then like fast forward like a few episodes when I know the very divisive episode, but when Arya kills the Night King, and then it finishes, and you're like, oh.
She does the whole...
Yeah. Nice.
I don't know what your guys' reaction to... I feel like... Are we going backwards? Are we doing like from season 9 to season 1?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, we are. We're going to be hopping back and forward. It's a non-linear episode.
Yeah. No, but I was only talking about it because of the episodic nature thing we were talking about and the experience that gives you. But I don't worry, I have a lot written on season 8, so we'll get there. I don't want to do it season by season because I think that's just a boring.
I can't even remember individual seasons.
Yeah, it's too heavy, and we'll miss so much stuff out. But we'll cover the last season for sure. So,
well, I mean, I know we said we don't want to do season by season, but I would like to talk about the first season just because it's one of those shows which gets referenced a lot of how to keep interest in the story. So obviously, the way that it's presented is Ned Stark is the main character.
Yes.
And that's the person you're going to follow for the whole story. Obviously, for people who've read the books, it's going to be a bit different because they know what's going to happen. Assuming that you're only watching the TV show, you're like, right, this guy, Ned Stark, he's the main character. We see other people. We see a few other like interactions of like stories that are running parallel to his, but he's the main character. And at the end of the season, you just go, holy shit, what the fuck is happening now? Because I was at that point, I was like, they're not going to kill him. There's going to be something that's going to come along. They're going to save the day.
Had you read the books? Because I know you had the books at uni.
So I had read them afterwards. I think
I read
during
them, like season 6.
Yeah, I think it was a down period of one of the seasons. I was like, I'll just read the books. And
they had 2 years off. That's when I read it. I think that was season 6 actually.
And I just couldn't get through it. I was like, there's too many. Even for watching the show, I was like, I can't follow all these characters.
Oh yeah, I've read.
It's very dense. It's quite Lord of the Rings.
I've read 3 of the 4 that I own, and I don't really plan on reading any more.
I've read 1.5 of the 7 that I own. So
also, dude, it is not. There's dense, and then there's Lord of the Rings dense. That is, I've read the fucking Silmarillion, and that is just
crazy.
It's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like a dictionary. I don't even know why I read it. I like Lord of the Rings so much that I was like, well, I have to read about the Silmarillion, how the universe works, right? But Game of Thrones is very, very dense and a slog and a half to read. But I was like, I want to know what's happening. And then, like a dick, I was like, oh, right. Everything I've read now is like covered in the TV show. It's all made up from this point onwards, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, because they take a lot of it. It's almost what feels like not inspiration, because the events are similar, but there are things you just can't do on TV. Basically, to save on time.
Yeah,
and probably because it's not feasible in terms of budget. There are a lot of things that must have been cut out because you're just like, it's easier to write stuff that is very grand, but it's harder to then film that and make it coherent and keep it in an hour-long episode.
Yeah,
we know that.
A space movie.
Yeah.
You want me to write something that we can visually create coherently and within budget? Fuck out of here.
But that first season, I feel like, maybe not just the first season, obviously, because it happens throughout, characters being killed, lots of plot twists, that kind of thing, the unexpected.
They carry it on for like 3 seasons, that thing, because it's like, you think the main character's Ned from season 1, and then at the end, he's like headless. So you're like,
Ned's dead.
It's not him. Ned's dead. So then you're like, oh, I get it. They were doing this, but actually this whole time Robb Stark was the main character. Oh, no, okay, no, he's also dead. Maybe it's about Joffrey then, because I mean it's crazy to follow a villain like oh no, he's dead. Yep, okay.
Jon Snow, maybe
Jon. Oh, I get it now.
Well, no, because there's a bit where you're like,
he's dead.
Arya, because we're following her quite a lot, and then it flips from her. I mean, it's good in the way that they're able to have such a massive array of characters and still keep it a coherent story, and everyone still has these character arcs.
Spoiler alert!
Keeping
it was about fucking bran flakes.
Oh, God,
fucking dildo!
I forgot about him.
We will get properly onto the end, but
but I think that was the thing that a lot of TV writers, directors kind of took a bit of inspiration from, to be like, characters don't have to be safe. And I think that's the thing that kept it interesting, that
for sure.
You never really knew when they were put into these dangerous situations what was going to come of it. Like, the bad guys can win very, very easily. And I think that was the thing that made Battle of the Bastards such an interesting episode.
Oh, what an episode.
Jon was putting himself in danger, and you're like, holy shit, like, he's the hero, but he could very easily just be stabbed and killed by any random person, because that's the way it goes.
With his rubber sword.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
It's so good. I think, is that the same one where... is that the same episode where Brienne kills... fuck. I cannot keep track of the names. The other guy who's saying that he's going to be the king, who was living in the fucking Dragon Island, who had the witch lady.
Stannis.
Yeah, Stannis.
Right, yeah.
Is that the same episode where Brienne kills Stannis?
Isn't that the Battle of Winterfell?
Much later.
Something before.
Yeah.
Well,
Stannis dies like season 4?
Well, on his death, he's got a massive wire and battery pack like sat next to him.
Fucking brilliant, of course.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they forgot to get rid of it.
But what was it for?
I don't know. Maybe
he's a robot.
Maybe
Stannis
he has like a wire behind him going to a light or. Okay.
Thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
I actually really like Stannis. I was hoping that Stannis would be like
he
would be the one that takes over. Like I
didn't
thought...
like him. Like he
Yeah.
burned his daughter
as a character,
to death, but it was a very interesting.
Yeah,
but that's what made Game of Thrones so quite cool. Because like in the early seasons, you'd be like, oh, I really like Stannis. I really kind of like what they're doing with Stannis, and then it'd be like, oh yeah, he's attacking Blackwater, that's great. And in the exact same episode, Tyrion will give a really good speech about why he needs to go and kill Stannis' army, and you're like, yeah! Wait, I thought I was backing Stannis.
Yeah. That's the thing as well, because like you don't want Joffrey to win, but you become so attached to Tyrion, who's fighting for Joffrey, and it's like, And then all the green fire happens, and you're like,
yeah. You're like, what?
Very. Yay.
I don't think I've
Never
ever
heard
had
a
that
human make
reaction
that
to
noise.
watching anything.
No.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's what makes it so cool, because it's such a... I mean, it is obviously, with anything fantasy, it's all about the story, but Game of Thrones in particular is such a character-driven show. And
it's
when
politics.
you ask anyone what they love about it, they'll probably name a character, you know?
Yeah. It's a political drama at the heart of it, really, because that's what season 1 and 2 is about. It's about the politics of the Game of Thrones, exactly. I mean, it's what the first book is called. And it's... You guys probably know because I think it's common knowledge now, but it's an allegory, or whatever you want to call it, for climate change. It's like everyone's arguing about the day-to-day
Allegory?
politics.
Sorry.
That's the best one ever.
Yeah.
Because he cares
So-
about climate change, so it's fun.
It's
That
an
is the
allegory
inconvenient
about
truth.
climate change.
Anyway.
And basically, so
Is
the
it really?
White Walkers, so the White Walkers
Yeah.
are basically climate change. They're like an unstoppable natural force that's coming and can easily be solved if they just
If
put
we
their
all
heads
come
together and
together.
stop. Exactly, that's basically what it is. If everyone stops like arguing about basically pointless shit, who's king, who's gonna own land, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
And there's people
convoluted
coming.
metaphor.
Yeah,
and
well,
then
it's
there's-
also
then there's
all
people
based
coming
on...
with evidence and showing it's real, and people denying it and that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
that was the foundation of it.
Is that confirmed?
It's also all based on like
Yeah.
old English kings and knights and stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
like he had very specific. I should have had this in my notes, but I don't. Like he had very specific eras of history, British history, that he was copying.
Drawing
I think it was the
upon.
War of the
homage to.
Roses was a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
inspiration for a lot of it.
So it's like anything that's classic fantasy. It's these big, huge meanings behind these huge backdrops of crazy worlds. But Game of Thrones is like all about its characters, and that's why it's so good.
Hmm.
And it
Good
really
show.
like sort of set off a precedent of that when it killed off its lead character in the first season. You know?
Yeah.
What happened was the axe came down, Ned's head came off, and they went, "Welcome to the show." You're welcome.
I'm not putting it there.
Don't embarrass me like that, you piece of shit.
It was a really bad one.
It was.
You have to make it natural.
No, force it in. No, wait, no. Just
Welcome to the show.
fuck. We're doing a podcast. I hate you both.
I also, my microphone probably peaked like hell. I forgot that I've put my levels up. I went right into it. So,
I quit.
my next point, I just wanted to talk about the casting, because it's pretty much immaculately cast, right? And it's a lot of unknown actors.
Like
there are
Ed
obviously
Sheeran.
people in there that, fuck you. No. I still have a point. It's a lot of mostly unknown actors and Ed Sheeran.
I would like
just
to point out that the Ed Sheeran thing isn't the first time that's happened. Like Sigur
No.
Rós, Mastodon, they've had cameos of artists since like
Coldplay
season 2
people.
or 3.
But
Coldplay.
the Ed Sheeran one was the one where he's just like,
The most.
"Hi, I'm Ed Sheeran." Like, at least the other ones are like,
Let me sing you a
character,
song.
basically. Yeah. I don't
was
even
so
look
dumb.
any different. I'm just a bit dirty.
It was so dumb. But I
It was
agree,
such
like
a
the
weird
casting
moment.
was good. Obviously, you have like people like Sean Bean and
Yeah.
you know, the big you have big names in it.
But even
But-
Sean
yeah.
Bean isn't like big name, you know. He's a very established actor. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but he's not like a huge Hollywood leading.
It's not. I wouldn't say he's like a
Mm.
household name until Game of Thrones. I would say. Like
Yeah.
he was in Lord of the Rings, but I don't think many people would be like, "Oh yeah, that guy." If you said his name.
Well, I mean, he is
until
known
Game of
for being
Thrones.
killed off. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of a
that is
running
true.
gag that
Yeah,
was killed
but,
off
like,
of everything. So as soon as he was cast, everyone should have known it was coming.
Yeah.
It's
No,
true.
but-
To be
yeah.
fair, we all should have seen it coming.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I do agree with your point, kind of on the whole, that they've gone around and they have found the right people for it. They've not just gone
And
for
made stars.
let's get
Mhm.
stars and then people will watch. It's
Yeah.
like no, let's get good fucking actors who are going to cane these roles.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Summer Season 1 is cringy as fuck because there's kind of a lot of young actors in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they're doing their best, but they grow into it so
Big time.
much.
I don't. I mean, unless I'm misremembering, but I don't feel like it was particularly for children. It was pretty good acting. I
Yeah,
mean, I
by
wasn't.
kids
I don't think I was
standards,
ever
for sure.
taken out of it.
I guess for
because of-
children.
I think
But-
Sophie Turner's the only one that's a bit wooden.
Her, Arya's cringy, Bran's cringy.
Yeah, I don't. I think they're just so young that they are cringy. Whereas
Yeah.
Sansa's sort of like a young teenager, so her acting
Mm.
stands out a bit more. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, even them, because I think for all of them, that was like their first proper acting job. And it's
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. And by the end of it, you're like, holy fuck. They have created like superstars, acting powerhouses here. Maybe not Bran. I don't think he's.
I was gonna say, and the guy that plays Bran.
Yeah, not so much that I have a problem with his acting, although I do have a problem with his acting.
I
But
don't.
I-
It's just. I think he did what.
I
He had
feel
with
like
what
he
was
was.
given.
Yeah, exactly. What can
Mm.
what can you do when you're supposed to be this emotionless, kind of
Yeah.
faceless person that just sits in a wheelchair spouting out bollocks?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess.
mean, he must have been sort of excited when they were like, so next season you're going to become a magic bird. And he was like,
think that-
Yes.
what? That sounds
They did him
amazing. And then
so
he read his
But you're not
dirty.
allowed to be
Oh,
happy at
shit.
all. You'd be like, let me go be a bird for a moment.
They push him off of a thing in like the first episode or something. It's like, right, you can't use your legs for the entire season, and then it's like, right,
Now you can't use your
chance.
face.
Now you get to walk a little bit, but it's only made up back in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And now you're a bird.
And
I'm a warg. A
Yeah.
warg?
right, okay, right. I know
Ah.
that this is diverging a little bit from the point, but why the fuck didn't he just do that all the time?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can go into and become an animal, but I'm only going to use it to be a flock of birds and look at the battlefield instead of being like one of like those big fucking woolly mammoth things that are obviously like around, and I'm just going to like stomp everything.
Smash
No, I'm going to be
everyone.
some birds and say,
No,
"Oh,
it's not that simple.
things aren't going
It's not
very
that
well."
simple.
Well, I suppose the argument is he already knows what's going to happen in every single scenario. So he wouldn't necessarily need to go and bring, the birds. Sorry, bring a mammoth instead of birds because he already knows that they're going to win.
No,
And he
it's
knows
what
that
he
the
wants
cost
to
of
happen
life would
because
be
then he becomes
worth
the
it.
king.
He's like, I'm going to let all of
That's
these
why I'm
people
here.
die and then be king.
Yeah.
Yay.
You know what? I don't have any
Go
beef
me.
with Bran being king, really, and we
I
will
do.
get to it.
I
But
do.
it's the fact that when he finds out, he goes, and it's like, you haven't smiled in like 4 seasons.
And the
He's
funny
aptly
thing is
named,
as well,
given that Bran is the most boring fucking thing in the world to eat. And therefore, he is the most boring fucking thing
yeah,
in the world to
Yeah.
watch.
he in that last episode, John has to go to the wall
wall.
again.
Yeah.
What's that about?
And that makes them happy, right? They go, I can't remember who is it that wants him to kill him.
The
Dothraki.
Unsullied. No, the Dothraki are dead, but they're not
the
dead.
Unsullied. Yeah. So the
yes,
Unsullied
Unsullied.
are all like, he has to die or whatever. He's like, no, he goes to the wall. They're like, all right, sound cool. And then
he's alive.
he could just not
fuck off
go.
over there.
And
Yeah,
Bran could be like,
because they're
I'm the
leaving.
king. They just go.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, yeah, we'll believe
He could just
you
be
that
like,
that's what's gonna
hey,
happen.
so I know I'm on the way to the wall, but I'm just going to ask, like, that big boat there, that's for us? Oh, that's for you guys. Yeah, we're about to head off. Oh, so should I go now, or should I, like, wait a second?
Yeah.
I just feel like waiting, saying goodbye to my family. Well, we're gonna head off now regardless. So we're gonna go,
Just like,
but you
say to
really
Bran,
should
like-
go to the wall.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to
I
the
will.
wall. I'm gonna do it.
I will. Yeah.
I'll go later. I'll
Pinky swear.
I'll figure some things out first. pack
I
my
just
bags.
left my. I'll be. Yeah. I just.
Oh,
I just
I've left
need
me
one more-
phone. I've left
Yeah.
my phone back in the
Can
cell.
someone ring it? Can someone? Anyone?
And they're all like, "What's a phone?"
Fuck's sake. It's
No,
just like,
but,
Bran could just straight up. He could lie.
Yeah,
And again,
Or he
he's
could just be
king.
like, I'm the king. You're not going to the wall anymore.
yeah.
I guess
I
that's
mean,
the point
even
of him
then-
being the king, because he's like,
Yeah.
oh, fair guy. He's not just.
But
Gonna...
but even then, it's like Arya and Sansa have spent the entirety of the show being all about family and being all about loyalty, and they're like,
Bye,
you can't,
Jon."
You can't kill him. You can't kill Jon. Well, we'll send him to the wall and ruin his life. Yeah, sounds
Deal.
fair. Yeah, I give up. Yeah, whatever.
I mean, I guess
Good
that
for
kind
me.
of leads into like on one hand, amazing story arcs that Game of Thrones had, but also
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
terrible story arcs and character arcs that it ended
Absolutely.
up having for the characters that did make it to that point.
Yeah.
So for
I'd
people
love
like
a
Robb
one-off
Stark,
piss take. Sorry, continue.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, for characters like Robb Stark, who did have a complete story, basically any character that died or left before we got to kind of season 8, season 9 had a very well-rounded, complete
There's no season
story.
9, by the way. It's 8 seasons.
Is it?
Yeah.
Season 8.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
get what you mean, because it gets to a point where, like, season 7 onwards, it's every way that it wraps up, every character is
Shit.
wrong, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you've got people that should have died, like Bronn and Jaime probably should have died.
And Sam.
Characters who should have died in a better way than they did, like Daenerys and Cersei. Characters
Jaime.
that were like too smart to die in the way that they did, like Littlefinger and Varys. What else?
I quite like
Actually,
Littlefinger's death, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say, I quite...
It makes no
like-
sense.
This is the problem with Game of Thrones when you get to those final seasons, is that it needed so much more time to explain
Yeah.
the things that were going on, because I like the idea that he thought he was being so smart and he had manipulated everyone, only to find out the last second, just before he died, no one was buying his shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that would have been great if there was more to it, because I remember the lead up to that was like Arya and Sansa have like this conversation about why he's untrustworthy or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then he gets killed. And you're like, okay. I mean, that's cool,
Yeah.
but like, what was the conversation? What was the
It was
build up?
all
Why?
just set up for that twist reveal.
Yeah.
Which is
Which
a
is
good
a great
reveal.
moment. But,
Yeah.
And when it
But it
happened,
needs
I was
more.
like, oh, dope. And then on
Yeah.
rewatches, I was like, why did he fall for that?
But Varys' one was stupid, because in the
Varys'
same way
was
that
so
they made Varys and Tyrion two of the smartest characters in the whole of the series, two
In
of
all
the
of
dumbest
literature.
ones by the end of the series, or
Yeah.
by the end of their kind of story arcs, they were just... Tyrion was just making like dick jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like because they'd run out of material, run out
They
of source
regressed.
material, and they were kind of like... Because I think they had like a Star Wars deal as well, that I think they were trying to like get Game
Yeah.
of Thrones
Which
over
they
with.
left.
Good.
After all that, they didn't even work on the new Star Wars films.
I'm glad. Another franchise that they can't ruin.
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily subscribe to the D&D ruined Game of Thrones thing, because I think, yes, granted, the seasons that everyone really hates are the ones where it was all their writing and no George R.R. Martin stuff. But you have to remember, even though they were adapting from a book, they are still the people that brought it to the screen in the first place, and still the people that made it work the way it happened.
I think that for adaptation, they're very good. But the original ideas that they had for it, I'm sure there's things in there. Like, it's easy to come up with original ideas when you're like, well, this could happen from source material. But when they're making up an entire story on top of that source material, I feel like that's where where they're having to continue on from something that hasn't yet been written. I feel like that's where they've really kind of fallen down.
Short.
Yeah, and it does.
I don't disagree.
Pretty bad.
I don't disagree,
story.
but I don't get on board with the big hate of D&D. I think they had an insane amount of pressure put on their shoulders. I don't think they expected to have the world's biggest TV show when they took over, you know.
And they were told by, like, the studio, I guess. They were told, kind of, you have this much money, this much time, and these many episodes to finish this.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't their choice to wrap it up in that season.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I think it
I'm sure
was
they were
and it
told
wasn't.
they had to.
I think it was and it wasn't. I think they will have wanted to wrap it up in a season, but I think they were sort of given less time than they thought they would be for that season. But they definitely wanted to wrap it up quickly and get
I feel
it out
like
of the
I
way
remember reading
as soon as
that
they ran out of source material.
HBO and George R.R. Martin were pushing for like another 3 seasons.
Oh really?
I know he was.
Yeah.
I know definitely
he was pushing because he was like, there's so much more to be. Obviously, like maybe it's just for money, but I know that he probably wanted more of the story to come out. On the screen.
Would you not love, like, kind of post-final episode? Like, I know we were kind of taking the piss before about, like, Jon going to the wall and all of these things. Like just a one-off piss take. Like, where are they now? Like, I think that would be something, I don't know, like an SNL digital short or something. That would be well fucking funny.
If it was an SNL short, I would like it, yeah.
Yeah.
If it was an actual episode of Game of Thrones, I think I'd end my life.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
No exaggeration.
No exaggeration.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, as you were saying, it's because it's so character-driven that's sort of where they fucked it up at the end. That they were like, we have to wrap up the story, but they forgot to wrap up the characters properly, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like
it almost felt like they were like, right, so this has to happen, then this has to happen. And then they get to this point and they're like, oh shit, actually, Daenerys is supposed to be evil by now? Okay, she'll just suddenly... Now she's evil.
Well, that's what I feel like what they did was almost like, we have to get to this point.
Yeah.
And that point would be like 2 or 3 seasons in terms of like what had happened
3
before.
seasons for sure.
It would be like... Cause
not 6 episodes.
1 episode, really. Like, when of like the snap of her,
you
like,
it's just when
she's on the dragon, and then she's like, I've won. I'm gonna burn people. Like, what's the point? Like, why don't... I get that there was kind of this thing of her not, like, kind of being betrayed, and then her family were all crazy, but you're like, you've got to have something a little bit deeper than that for her to just straight up murder innocent people. Like, she's supposed to be this kind of beacon of good in the whole thing.
Well,
but it makes sense as well.
It made sense for her to get there.
Yeah.
And,
but
like,
not that quickly.
even if you look through all the seasons, there's hints of it.
Of course.
That kind of ruthlessness, unnecessary killing. It's not something that was new. But like you say, on the other hand, there was like this beacon of hope, this like good
savior of the slaves and things, the breaker chains.
Yeah. You could see that, and there was also hints prior to it happening in that season. There was like, but it was rushed. It was big time rushed. It was like, oh, she's just kind of becoming very unraveled all of a sudden. And really, if it was because of like all the untrustworthy people around her, that should have happened ages ago, if anything. Why is it just happening now? And it's all happening at once. And then it is kind of that shot on the dragon above the city, and she hears the bells, and she's just like,
bells mean kill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the thing is, I get it.
She was programmed
sense,
by the Russians as a child.
It should have
that was
been
the trigger.
That's what I was thinking too. But it should have been 3 seasons worth of content to get us to that point. Like I said before, I don't care about Bran being on the throne so much. If they had, because obviously that is who George R.R. Martin wanted to end up on the throne.
He had told them.
So
who wins?
It's the right choice if that's what he wanted. But like, build to it correctly, because I totally get the logic that Tyrion was spouting when that scene at the end of end of the season where they're like, "Hey, why don't we let the prisoner decide who becomes our leader?" And they're all like, "Good idea. I like that." Has he betrayed you? Yeah, he's betrayed me. What about you? Yeah, betrayed me as well. Yeah, tried to kill me actually. Let's make him decide.
But let's hear him out.
That whole scene.
Yep.
But anyway, his logic is absolutely sound. Yeah. But we had an entire season where we didn't even see Bran. You know?
Yeah.
So after that, if he's going to end up on the throne, fucking build to it, please. Because everyone's going to hate the outcome.
Be interesting to see how the last, like, the book turns out after the response to the show.
Oh, he'll be dead. He won't finish it.
Oh. Stupid LL Cool Beard.
Nathan, can you, like, edit in, like, a little tumbleweed to just...
For the audio listeners, there will be tumbleweed.
I quit again, twice in one show. Goodbye.
I think you quit every week.
You guys suck.
We do. You are correct. But
Not
yeah,
as bad
so I
as
suppose
Game of Thrones last season.
I suppose since we're talking about the last season, I feel like we should cover.
Yeah, we just talked about season 1 and the last one.
Well, because they're the ones that matter. It's about the journey getting there, right?
Yeah.
Sure, we might have just like messed up the way we got there, but that's what they did in Game of Thrones. So it's only fair that we messed up our journey
to rush all the way to the end.
Exactly. Yep. That's why we did it. Definitely the reason. Definitely planned.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about the Night King episode, which is kind of crazy that it happens in one episode.
Also that,
but I love
and where did she come from?
Where did she go?
Where did she come from? Cotton Eye Joe. I was going to do it, but I thought you'd just do the whole tumbleweed again.
You're probably right. I probably would have.
Dickhole. Anyway.
I am a dickhole.
But that was my only problem with it. It was very cool, very badass. I loved it. But then it was like, where was she? The angle that she arrived to him doesn't make any sense at all.
The zombies that were around and all
jumped
the
out
people.
a tree, maybe.
She's like crazy quiet. No, because you could see her like there was this whole thing of her like sneaking through, and then she's up in the air.
Yeah, you see the hair of the White Walker.
Just like.
But at the same time, like, I'm willing to
suspend
my disbelief. It's got dragons, you know.
This is true.
So
it's just badass.
I need to think about it properly because I've seen that episode many times, and I don't know if I love that ending scene so much because of the score, but I also think I might.
I'm trying to think what happens in the ending scene.
So
is that when they all just.
Yeah. So, but leading up,
which
to
is
the
also
bit
a bit of a surprise to me.
Like, why is that a surprise to you? They establish it in the show that's what happens when you kill a White Walker.
I guess. No, but like they all died because he died, right?
Yeah, because he shagged all of them. So, no, he created all the daddies basically.
Yeah,
and then once he died, all the daddies died, and then once all the daddies died,
and
all
he touched
the babies
the baby
of the
ones.
daddies died. Yeah,
got it. Yeah,
got it. Sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to talk about the score, because it's, I mean, consistently probably the best scored TV show ever.
Yeah.
But in particular, in that episode, that thing that builds up, and then
That
you've got like
sounded
John
like
shouting at a dragon.
Africa
and
by
it's like-
Toto.
It did. That has to be like overlaid.
Yeah.
It actually did.
It's what happens when I can't really hear myself, so I'm just like, I'm
Just
going off
hang
like
on.
Yeah.
The liver
Oh,
going
you
off.
just
just
vibrations in my head. So it was just like
she just
monotone.
she's just killed the Night King, and then in the background you just hear. "It's gonna
Dun,
take a
dun,
while
dun,
to track
dun,
me
dun,
away
dun,
from-"
dun. That would be so good.
That would be
All of my problems
incredible.
with Game of Thrones would have been just
Would
erased
be
by that
resolved
moment.
if the entire score was done by Toto. That would just
It was
make
just
it
always
even
that song.
better.
Just
Yeah.
that one song. Just the axe comes down on Ned Stark's head. Boom.
Hurry, boy,
Dun,
she's
dun, dun,
waiting
dun,
there for
dun.
you.
Dun, dun. Oh, that'd be so fucking funny.
Anyway, the score,
So, yeah, the score.
in that final scene is just so good that it carries the stupidity of it, because I love it so much and it makes me like want to cry watching it happen. And Are You Killing the Night King? I'm totally down with it. But then when you rewatch it, you're like, this was kind of John's story arc. Like, it really...
Yeah.
He should have maybe not been the one to stab him. That can still be Arya, but at least maybe be involved rather than
Be there.
just shout at a
So,
dragon.
and I think this is the biggest problem that I have with where they deviated from, not deviated from source material, but where they ran out of source material. Because it seemed like they kind of realized that early on, when you do the unexpected, it gets a good response. So what they thought was, anytime we do something that is unexpected, that means it will be good.
Yeah.
Which is
Everyone
why
wants John to do this.
but
No.
we're not gonna do that, which is
Psych.
fine. As you were saying, it makes if you make it make sense in the same way that it was unexpected that Bran would be the one to be on the throne, but make it make sense.
Yeah. Well, the
And I
thing
think
is with John, right? He is the main character of the show. I know it's got so many characters that are so important to the story, but he is essentially the main character.
Yeah.
And
Because isn't he the rightful heir to the throne?
Yeah. So the entire thing, he has two potential plot lines. It's kill the Night King, will he end up on the throne? And then both of those develop as they go on, because the will he end up on the throne thing. You're such a child. Because that once his ancestry reveal happens, it's like, oh, okay, so they really want this to be important. And then John finds out about it, and he's like, oh, all right, yeah, but she's my queen. So,
mate.
Because he tells her, doesn't she? Finds out.
Yeah, and she's like pissed, and then they just go, "Shall we move on?" Yeah, we'll move on from it. Yeah,
let's start banging again.
I didn't understand her reaction. Her reaction didn't feel right to me either.
Yeah.
To that information, it's like, okay, so you know, but you also know that he doesn't care, and he's happy for you to be the queen. But you're going crazy about it, and now you don't deserve to be queen.
I mean, I guess it makes sense in a way, because it's almost like for her entire life, she's believed that she is, or her brother was the rightful heir to the throne. He dies in a really cool way. That's a cool
really
death in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
And she's believed basically her entire life that she is supposed to be some kind of royalty. She's supposed to be not queen, but that is supposed to be.
Well, she would be royalty anyway, in fairness.
It's not the same, though, is it?
But you know what I mean? It's supposed to be like when she then goes on to her, like, I'm going to be the queen, I am saving all these people, I'm doing all this for like all the right reasons, whatever. You can understand that it's like when someone says, I'm actually the rightful heir to the throne, you'd be like, what the fuck, man? No.
But don't worry.
It's mine.
You can have it.
Yeah. It's a little bit like, well, why should I believe
Even
you?
though we're related.
So, I don't have any problem with her being angry to the reaction, like Alex said. My beef is like why they just go, let's move on from this pretty much immediately.
because they had to get to the next thing. They don't have time to develop
big important
stuff.
thing for Daenerys and for Jon. Like, Jon's entire life and entire character has been revolved around the fact that he's a bastard, you know?
A bastard.
Like, he's like, it's his entire thing. Anytime he's introduced in all of the earlier seasons, like, this is Jon Snow's bastard. And then, like, it's his entire thing. So, for him to find out that not only is he not a bastard, he's a very loved and wanted son. Yeah, sure, the king inheritance thing is important, but for his character, for him to be so like important and wanted and loved and not be what he thought he was his entire life, you know, for his uncle, who he thought was his dad, Ned Stark, to have sacrificed his honor and his life and his family just to make sure that Jon was safe, is a huge thing for the entire Stark family. Why are Sansa and Arya just like, I mean, the fact that he tells them off screen was a crime anyway. But why aren't they like reacting more in the fact that the thing that tore their family apart wasn't even true, and their dad was the noble hero that they thought he was? Why isn't that even talked about?
Yeah. It is a shame. It's a pity.
I think that line sums up all of Game of Thrones. It's great, but what a shame.
Yeah. Were they brother and sister, or like cousins? What was their? Because it was revealed that they're related. Daenerys
like
and Jon.
uncle and nephew, wasn't it? Isn't that
uncle, auntie.
Uncle and nephew. Auntie.
I mean, incest is a big part of the show.
Yeah, love it.
Never thought that would be a sentence I'd say.
I'm actually glad that's come up, because we haven't mentioned it though far, apart from your intro. So if we never mentioned it, it would just look like you just given random advice.
Yeah, it's still good advice. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely don't.
Definitely don't.
And definitely don't go across the country to die with them for no reason.
Well, that's just what I was going to get into, talking about those two. The story arc of both of those characters. Somehow you managed to ruin two incredibly well-developed and interesting, and also so like the two sides of both those characters, like being able to see the humanity but also the evil in both of them, was just so interesting. Just to go back at the end and just be like, fuck all that, they love each other, now they're gonna die. Like,
and she dies scared.
Yeah.
Like, again, I could get that if they built to it, but Cersei has never been scared in her entire life. And why does she seem to be upset and care when Daenerys is killing all those innocent people? She has never cared about King's Landing, ever.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense.
Jaime, I you know, obviously Cersei is this iconic villain. She was a fantastic villain.
I think she's the best in all of modern literature, possibly the best ever put to film.
Yeah. Well, then, as well, though, to the side of that, you've got Jaime Lannister, who arguably has one of the most interesting character developments through the series.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, like, objectively, he's a fucking monster. Like, you know, at the first episode, is it the first episode? He's shagging his sister up in a tower. A young boy spots them, so he tries to murder the young boy.
Fair game,
the amount of atrocities. Well, yeah. But the amount of atrocities that Jaime Lannister commits throughout the show. And we kind of see almost a redemption arc of sorts.
Yeah.
And whilst I can see that it makes sense, because everything... Because he goes away, and then he has to do that fight to get back to Cersei, and he learns loads along the way. But like, he is predominantly driven by that core belief of, I need to get back to Cersei. I love her.
Yeah.
But by the same token, so it does make sense to me that he went back to her. But the amount that he learned, and the fact that, you know, him and Brienne, they're sort of blossoming thing throughout, that would have been so, again, fantastic. I guess it makes sense, but what a shame.
Yeah.
He ended up just being Cersei's little whipping boy to the death.
Yeah, I mean, and for a minute, I thought, oh, he's going back to kill her, because that's what the prophecy that she received from Maggie the Frog, I think was her name, that weird witch thing, was that someone important in her life will kill her, like someone related to her, and you assume, and so does she, the entire time, that that's going to be Tyrion. Mm-hmm. And then it sort of becomes more and more apparent that actually it's going to be Jaime. So then he's going back, and you're like, oh, I get it. And then he starts fighting the top man, Pirate Man, and you're like, why is he fighting him and trying to kill him just so he can go and kill Cersei? That doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
Maybe he's doing it, and then he gets there, and she's just like, I'm scared, and he's like, sucks to be you. Go and hang out under these pillars. These seem safe.
Yeah. All these buildings are falling down. To underneath the building!
Underground.
It also, listen, I'm not that... Maybe this is just me not being that learned in structural, buildings and stuff like that. But I feel like they could have tried harder to get more...
out.
If I'd saw that was blocked up with bricks, right? I would be like, I'm going to get up there and just move as many bricks as I can and try and crawl along the top.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You'd think. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's probably way more bricks than it's possible, but you'd at least try, right?
Give it a go.
I mean, you wouldn't go.
Instead, let's have a hug.
A pile of bricks. Where the
have like a
exit
brick,
would be.
a rock overlay fall in front of us.
Yeah. If it was one big, huge rock that you couldn't move, fair game. They're not Jesus. But if it's bricks, you're like,
what?
Give it a go.
Yeah, you'd at least try.
He moved a big rock, didn't he?
Yeah, to get out.
That's what he's famously known for.
This is the Easter special episode, so
yeah, we're a bit
big
late.
up to my man JC.
Anywho,
carrying on.
Amazing.
I don't know what that was.
Worth it. So worth it.
Jaime Lannister.
Jaime Lannister.
Yeah, See, I think I was most upset about his character arc more so than Cersei's, because I felt like you said, there is a way to explain the way that she ended up being. Again, it needed more time to get to that point. She had lost all of her children through murder, suicide. How did the other one die? Murder again.
Murder.
Yeah. But then you can kind of understand how she kind of feel helpless. Everything's crumbling down around her. She's lost all of her power. She's got nothing anymore. But Jaime went from, like Alex was saying, this guy who is perfectly happy to murder a child for the sake of not getting caught banging his sister, to someone who's willing to put himself at risk to save someone else. And obviously there's more that's gone along with that, but the character arc that he had, to get to the point where he was almost a redeemable character, you're rooting for him.
You're on side,
in the end. Yeah. Like the bit where he's on the horse and he's charging towards the dragon. That is a bit with him, isn't it?
It makes me so angry.
But it's stupidity aside.
No, I have no problem with the stupidity thing. Like we were talking about with The Last Jedi. I'm perfectly down for people to do that, like with Finn flying towards the thing. Same fucking thing happens.
Yeah,
he gets saved by Bronn. In this example, in Last Jedi, it makes no sense for him to be saved. In this example, it makes perfect sense for him to be saved by Bronn. But why does Bronn not die? Why? That's the perfect way to wrap up his character. And in him dying,
no.
Jaime would learn a lesson from it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because that makes perfect sense as well, doesn't it? Fucking hell.
But for, to put Bronn becoming Master of Coin when he's just some dude
who just spends money on hookers all the time, famously.
But yeah, and then to kind of the way that I feel about it is they kind of went an easy way out because they probably went, we know people know that they love each other, so it'll be easy for them to die together. It makes sense when you kind of go, when you cut out all of the middle bit and just go, they loved each other at the start, they love each other at the end, they die together. Excellent. But
how romantic.
To reverse all of that and just like, because I was thinking the same lines as you, he would end up killing her, he would go in, murder her, try and get out, or maybe he would die from whatever.
Yeah.
But as soon as that happened, I was just like, what? What a waste of such an amazingly developed character.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like they'd thrown the entire thing away.
I still think. I mean, I like Arya killing the Night King, but I think it would have been quite cool for Jaime to kill the Night King for the Kingslayer, for his character arc to finally finish with him
that would have
killing
been
the
cool.
Night King.
Yeah. One thing that always confused me, right? So, going back to Jon having to go back to the wall. So obviously Jon kills Daenerys.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Gives her the old stabberoonie.
He says it while he does it too.
What? Stabberoonie. He does. We never actually see him get caught.
No.
But then everybody knows that he did it.
The dragon told
bounce,
everyone.
Man. Just leave. Just go out.
That
and
was
be
another
like,
thing. That...
Yo, Daenerys is dead, guys. I just found her body. She's like dead. I don't know how that happened. Like, he's a smart guy. And they don't have DNA testing.
He's a man of honor, isn't he? So he'll have handed himself in.
But even so, they wouldn't even been able to find the body because the dragon took it.
Did the dragon take it?
Like,
yeah. Did you just say she fucked off on the dragon, guys?
Yeah, she'd be like, she didn't want an Nessa after all. Make me king.
She changed her mind. She was like, this is too much. You have it. So now I'm king.
She went, I really wanted it, but now it's all like dirty and ashy. I know that's my fault, but I don't really want it anymore.
Just wanting what you can't have, and now she has it. She's like, never mind. This has been fun though. See you later. But that's the thing, like,
kissy kissy, bye bye.
No body, no evidence. Like, the fuck?
It's perfect crime.
But then he's been done for murder. They're all like, kill him, and he's like, no, I'll just send him away.
But it's kind of funny. It's like, we're going to do him in for murder, and they've all also murdered people. So
what terrible thing.
The Unsullied who are like just been killing like thousands of innocent people.
Like, I get
it
the
because
spears.
they're like, they serve their queen, but
I mean, that was beyond serving their queen though. They went a bit fucking nuts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that was in the text, wasn't it? Because you had that bit where Jon Snow realizes it's wrong, and then 30 minutes later gets his men to retreat because he spends 30 minutes just looking at what's he called? The I can't remember his name.
Ringworm or something.
Ringworm. Jesus.
Oh, something about
the funny northern bloke who was mates with Stannis' daughter.
Oh, fuck, the Onion Knight.
Yes.
What's his name?
Yes.
Davos.
Davos. Yeah.
Yes.
So Davros Flatley. No, so he spends like 30 minutes of that final episode just looking at Jon Snow and looking at each other like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Should we pull people out? Yeah, in a bit though. Like, let's just see what happens, you know. Well, let's keep looking at each other like it's wrong. Okay, yeah, let's go.
This is wrong.
Yeah, but again, it's the same thing for the entire season. It's just messy and lots of ideas there that make sense. But really, when you think about them, you're like, I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's a bit dumb that we got here like this.
Yeah. And I think that's really that's kind of the overarching thing, you know, if we were to sum it up, it is that it's a fantastic show. It is a phenomenal show. It's one of the biggest shows ever made.
I still think it's probably the best ever made, even despite the ending.
Breaking Bad.
Then, you know,
Breaking Bad is the contender for sure.
Yeah. I think that would be the kind of main point to make of the show is fantastic, but just what that bit of
what
a shame.
could have been.
Yeah. Well, that is what I wanted to finish on. Like, what do you think its legacy is?
I think they
it's
fucked
that.
themselves on legacy.
Yeah, I think it's now not known. Like if you say Game of Thrones is the greatest show ever made, people are going to be like,
Yeah, I guess.
but it ended badly.
Yeah.
The ending is the thing. Like you get to
You have to end well.
it ruins the entire thing. Because it was so interesting. Like we were saying, it's not just a fantasy world. It's like this political thing. It's the characters. It's everything that should be in a TV show, and it's done so well until you get to the end, and that just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
I think you first.
Well, I enjoy the last season
Mm.
to an extent. It's just it's littered
That's
with
what I was
so
gonna
many
say.
problems that it's hard for me to be like, yeah, this is objectively good. I just know that it's bad, but I like it. And I think I like it because I love the show so much.
And I think
love
it
those
has
characters
merit.
so much.
The last season, it is phenomenally shot. I mean, it's a bit of a
Yeah,
crime.
of
We
course it
haven't
is.
spoken about that episode, the big battle, quite as much as we could have. Like that, I've never watched something that's made me feel so suffocated before. Like watching that, and it's, you know, there was the complaints about it being really dark, and I'm like, well, turn your fucking lights off. You know,
Yeah.
I
did
was
think the
I was
same.
watching it in the dark, like I was so fucking into it, and just that sense of constriction, and I'm like, I can't fucking breathe, man.
Yeah. Are you running through the library and things like that?
Even
Do you wanna
that
know-
bit.
Great scene.
But even just the battle where the people that you've been following, and even the side characters that you've come to like know, and you're just seeing them in this tangle of bodies and swords and blood, and you're just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
But I think
I totally agree because I do love that episode, but I just think for that feeling, they got that with the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is in terms of like how to do a battle. That
I think I felt that more in that episode though than I did.
I can
with
understand
Battle of
what
the
you
Bastards.
mean. I do understand what you mean. But I think what I loved so much about that episode was feeling like this is it, you know, that feeling of this is it, and it's so dirty and so just raw and aggressive, like you say. I think the suffocation feeling is what I was referencing. That's what I feel more at the Battle of the Bastards. This is real. This, like, you know, like Nathan said, the fact that Jon Snow is the main character and it looks for a minute like he's gonna die, and sure he doesn't, but he doesn't really do anything other than at the end of it, but because he spends half of it on the floor and like trying to get out for air. That's such a cool thing. Whereas in that last one, the first time watching it was so amazing because you're like, this is it. Oh my god, who's gonna die? So many of my favorite characters are here, and they mostly all live.
Pretty much
you
all
expected
of them.
so many of them to die.
Yeah.
Well, even in places where they were supposed to die, like it looked like Sam was gonna die, and then he's alive. That was the thing, because like, so the problem for me started with that episode, and that's where I began to start
Nathan
disliking it, because not just because of that, but the first episode was so strong. It was just people talking, and you knew that was it. That was like this is the last conversation before they die, and they know it. They know they're about to go in to something where they could all be killed immediately.
Yeah,
and that's
great episode.
Kind of set the precedent for me, which was like, okay, if they don't die, this is going to be bad. And it wasn't just about the fact that they didn't die, it was the fact that they were put into positions where they could have been killed, and they were like, these are important characters that we're going to keep. Like Sam's, where he was like, it looked like he was being stabbed, or like people were surrounding him, and then he's back, and then people are just like miraculously saved. It was all of that I was like, why would you set it up where people have these very
complete
not in depth,
stories.
but like, well, not that, but like that, those conversations they had in the previous episode were just like these heart-to-hearts between people that for pretty much the entire show had hated each other, or were on different sides. They're all on the same side, they're about to die, and then it just goes off on a complete tangent because they needed to make it something else. And from that point, I was like, I'm kind of clocking out of this show now because it feels like they don't have the guts of the original show.
I think especially with the Sam thing as well, because that whole shot exists for one reason. It's because that is John's best mate, who is clearly dying. And then John looks at him and knows, because any other time in the show, John would have automatically gone and saved him, but he knows that there is a bigger cause. So it's like, he has to go and just leave Sam. That's the big important bit. That's why it happens.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And then he just goes and shouts at a dragon.
Yep.
That's what
Max really doesn't like the shouting at the dragon.
Because it's silly. It's so silly. And again, I can understand he's trapped by the dragon, but like, maybe don't write that in. Maybe just think of another way to give him something to do. Because it's like, again, in the story, it makes sense. He cannot get past the dragon. They establish it, so he stands up, and his big brave moment is that he shouts at a dragon. Cool. But when you think that the only reason that exists is because they didn't know what to do with John, you're like, right, cool, okay.
And the thing with Sam could have been, to be fair, the thing with Sam could have been such a great moment for John, because it could have been such like an overwhelming sense of guilt afterwards that could have brought another dynamic to him. Again, it's just
also very true.
It's not just not being able to tie up loose ends. It's it's a waste of opportunities that I feel like because they wanted to get to a point where they know that they were trying to wrap it up. If they brought in too much, they couldn't really wrap it up properly. And I feel like that's, for me, one of the sour points of the show, and that's kind of the legacy of the show. There was so much that could have been and too much that was.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of wrapping up poorly, we've reached around about an hour. That would have been funny. No, but we've come to about an hour. There is so much we could say, and it's never off the cards that we don't revisit a topic. But there is obviously many topics to do before that comes around. But it is something that we could definitely delve into way, way more than we have.
Yeah.
But
it's such an expansive world, isn't it?
Yeah. But in the world of podcasts, we have to be limited, and we don't want you guys to stop listening.
Yeah, and I think we've covered the cross
the main
of it,
bits,
the reason why we liked it, the reason why we watched it, and then the reason why we feel it fell off. Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly a hot take to say that we think Game of Thrones fell off, because
no.
if you just type in Game of Thrones on YouTube, it'll be just it's shit.
Yeah. But
I think that's the thing.
That
it's quite
comment of the legacy is a great show, but
what a shame.
Yeah. Just like this podcast. What a shame.
Yeah.
but with a great
plugs.
legacy.
Yeah,
I hope so. So go on, Max plugs.
Oh, is it me
plugs
again?
this week?
Yeah,
I
do it every
plug
week.
Master.
Apparently.
Yeah,
plug master. Yep. Well, just follow us and stuff.
Excellent. See you next week.
Okay, I'll do it. No,
so Max, plugs.
No, fuck you. Yeah, if you like this video, drop us a like, give us a subscribe, because YouTube is very unkind to us with its like systems and views and stuff. They just remove some when we've seen them there in the past, and then they disappear, and we're like, when did that happen? So just give us interactions so we can see things. And other than that, if you listen to us on Spotify, drop us a follow, like us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, all that jazz. You know the deal. I say it every week. 1 week. Alex or Nathan's going to say it, but
my camera
week,
just
apparently.
died, so that was really good fucking timing anyway.
Oh, excellent. Well, there's an ending. That's an outro. I just kicked my tripod.
Bye, guys.